Hey, I'm Rob from High Tech Pickers, and this is going to be my update for today about the CCP coronavirus, because of course we must never forget that those who are responsible for what's happening in the world right now, it is the Chinese Communist Party who have covered this up, and now we are stuck with the big mess that they have created. And keep in mind that they are still trying to cover it up, and it's pissing off a lot of people around the world. And so we want to see this Chinese dictator Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh. We want to see him accountable for what he has done for the nearly now we're talking about like 35,000 deaths worldwide. So I want to see this piece of shit Xi Jinping be held accountable. So let's not forget, and let's call this thing the CCP coronavirus. All right. So now if we look back during the Great Plague of London in 1665. The authorities at the time, one of the first things that they have done when they saw some of the first cases of the plague, because the plague had been going around Europe throughout the Middle Ages, it created epidemics in major cities, and it went on for hundreds of years. The Black Death, basically, that was the bubonic plague. And in 1665 in London, when they started having a new outbreak of the plague, one of the first things that the authorities did is that they've decided that the plague was being carried around by cats and dogs. So they had all the cats killed and all the dogs killed in the city, and people had to turn in their pets to be executed by the authorities. And you can imagine when they killed all the cats in the city, what happened is that the rats multiplied exponentially, and they were free to multiply, and they had no predators getting rid of them anymore. So this actually contributed to making the plague a big thing in London in 1665, because the authorities had killed all the cats. And the cats and the dogs were not the ones carrying the plague, of course. It was the rats. So their decision made things a lot worse, and that's the reason why it became an epidemic and killed so many people. And why I'm telling you that is because that's what I'm seeing happening in the world right now, with the world leaders in so many countries doing all kinds of stupid things, making the problem with the coronavirus even worse, and creating even worse problems. We have seen the violence in India, in Pakistan, in South American countries. In South Africa, the black police are shooting people with live rounds. And if you think this country is a little bit has become a paradise now that they've removed apartheid, well, no, you should see how it's looking now. This country a has been turned into one of the world's worst shitholes, simply because they removed apartheid, and now you're seeing you're seeing the brutality now. You're seeing the police shooting live rounds on people, beating people up with sticks, and now you're seeing how much of a shithole South Africa is. Uh, but this is not just South Africa. We are seeing this in so many other countries, African countries. We're seeing people getting beat up. Uh, we are even seeing the cops in the United States bullying people just because they're sitting on their porch. Uh, Of course, we haven't seen major acts of violence in the United States so far, but we know this is coming. We know there will be race riots. There were race riots even before the coronavirus, so we are going to see these race riots come back because we know that there is a segment of the population in the United States who are always looking for a reason to loot, always reason to always looking for a reason to break things, and we know who they are, even though we're not really allowed to tell you uh, what these people look like, but we all know what we're talking about, right? And so we know that it's just a matter of days before the riots start in the United States. The looting, right? It's just a matter of days before they are gonna start to loot and break stuff. The stores are getting boarded up with planks in their windows because they know it's coming, especially in New York City, where the demographics are not favorable. So, you may call me a racist if you want, but you know that's the truth, right? You know that it's coming. And you know, if the country remains peaceful in the US and nothing happened and there's no looting, then shame on me. But look, you know how this is going to turn out. So that's I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm not here to sugarcoat things. All right. So what we are witnessing around the world is the governments making things worse, preparing their countries for civil war, for riots, by using an increasing. There's an increasing in police oppression and violence. We have been seeing scenes, of course, in India, the cops beating people up with big sticks. We know that in France there's been a lot of police brutality in the last few days. I have seen many reports of the French police beating on people for no reason, just because they're walking on the street. We have seen, the army in Italy are walking around. We are seeing the army in many countries that are now under martial law, and you can expect many countries that were already unstable that there's going to be a regime change. There's going to be a coup. There's going to be something's going to happen in these countries because the opposition is going to use this opportunity to take over. So we are in very dangerous times right now, and most of the problems are actually not caused by the CCP coronavirus. They're actually caused by the governments who have no idea what they're doing, and they're pretty much not in control of anything. And they're trying to solve the problem by oppressing their population, and it doesn't appear to be working. Looks like the CCP coronavirus is spreading, and their lockdowns just aren't working. It's just oppressing people. It's just destroying the economies. And I'm telling you, this is going to turn into civil war for so many countries. This is going to turn into riots. And you need to get prepared for that, all right? What I want to tell you in this episode, it's what I'm seeing that's happening in the U.S. and in Canada. Now, I've just come back from Asia, and of course, I was in the Philippines, and things weren't doing very well down there with the army checkpoints everywhere. And there are so many foreigners are stranded right now in the Philippines because of the crazy lockdowns that the crazy president down there has created. Um, so I'm glad I came back. But what I've noticed in the U.S. and in Canada is that no one's wearing a mask, and this is completely crazy. When you look at the numbers of people infected in the U.S., the number of deaths, the number of people infected in Canada, and no one's wearing a mask, and this is completely crazy. I need to tell you that. If you are going to go outside in the US or in Canada, put something on your face, put something on your mouth and your nose. I know the story is that it's impossible to find masks in either the US or Canada. In Canada, if you go everywhere, if you go to the drugstore, if you go to the hardware store, you can try anything. You will not find a mask anywhere because the masks have been bought up a long time ago, and it's basically impossible to buy these things in North America. Now, in the Philippines, it's a third world country, and most people don't have the means to buy masks. Yet everyone was wearing something. You can put a bandana over your face. You can put a scarf over your face. You can make your own mask with a piece of cloth. The important thing is that you cover your mouth and nose. And this works both ways to reduce the spreading of the CCP coronavirus. Because if you cough or if you sneeze inside your mask is gonna hold most of the stuff that comes out of your mouth and your nose, and of course it's going to help you avoid the droplets, maybe containing the virus, that are in the air, that are being coughed or that are being shed by other people who might be infected. So the idea of going outside without wearing a mask or anything over your mouth is completely insane. And I know that here in Canada, if you're wearing a N95 mask or a surgical mask, there's some kind of a witch hunting right now. There's a witch hunt. People are looking at their neighbors. They're calling the police on their neighbors. People are suspicious of everybody else. And if you're wearing a surgical mask, they might think that you're infected. And they're probably going to call the police on you. So you should actually wear a bandana, wear a scarf, and maybe you can put your surgical mask under the bandana. But I'm telling you, the number one reason why it's spreading so fast in North America is because nobody's wearing a mask. That's the reason. And that's the reason that your governments are lying to you about. The governments they're paying doctors to go on TV and telling people that masks don't work. And this is completely insane. I mean, if masks don't work, why is everybody in Seoul, South Korea, wearing a mask? Why is everybody in Taiwan wearing a mask? Why is everybody in Singapore wearing a mask? Why is everybody in Japan wearing a mask? Why is everybody in the Philippines wearing a mask right now? It's because masks work and they reduce the spreading of the CCP coronavirus. So, don't listen to these idiots, those stupid doctors, those stupid politicians who are lying to you. Wear something, wear a mask, wear a bandana, but don't go out with your face exposed like this, because you are running a risk of getting infected. And this is the very reason why so many people are being infected in North America. It's because they're not wearing masks. That's the reason. All right? And one other reason why this is spreading and the government is not ahead of the infection is because they're not testing people. They're not doing enough testing. They don't even have enough testing kits. In the US, I think they've had a new batch of testing kits, and they're trying to get ahead of the infection, and you can see it in the numbers. Now they're just catching up to all these people who are infected, and now they're testing them. At least they're trying something. This is why the numbers are so high. It's because they are finding out the cases, which were already there anyway. But in Canada, they have been doing all the wrong moves since the very beginning of this epidemic. We have the worst prime minister in the history of Canada, and it shows. And he's been doing all the wrong stuff from the very beginning, from December to now, 3 months and a half, and it's been a catastrophe. And in February, he did give 80 tons of masks and surgical material to China. This is why Canada doesn't have any masks anymore for their healthcare workers. It's because of this fucking idiot, Justin Trudeau. So now he's got some of his doctors, his federal health minister telling people that masks don't work. That's a big fat lie. That's because they have given out all of the masks to China in February, and now the healthcare workers, now they're left with nothing. So keep this fucking idiot accountable for what's happening to Canada, because it's all his fault. And one other thing that I've heard is that he's still accepting planes coming from China without any testing, without any checks whatsoever, up to this day today. And he's been doing it all through the epidemic. So, shame on this guy. He is responsible for what's happening in Canada. And now, one big lie, of course, that because he's been lying to you all along. He's been isolated for 18 days now in his mansion somewhere. And, if you think about it, he could have gotten a test for the CCP coronavirus, and he would have had the test results in about 45 minutes. But he doesn't want to use the test. He'd rather just stay hidden in his home, because he's scared of going outside and getting the CCP coronavirus. That's the real reason, because he's a fucking coward, and he'd rather send little people like the cops. He'd rather place the cops in places in checkpoints throughout Canada. He'd rather make them stop thousands of cars and make these cops talk to the drivers of these cars to check where they're going. Doing that without any masks, of course. And, he's going to use these little people, put them in harm's way. And this is why you will see so many cops get the CCP coronavirus. In New York City, for example, the New York City police, they have 550 officers infected with the CCP coronavirus, because they are being used by the government to do things that don't work, that are stupid, just to oppress citizens. And they're working with no masks on, and this is why they are getting infected. And we must always wonder how many of these infected police officers are actually going to die because of this. But it's all the politicians' fault. And Justin Trudeau just likes to hide inside his home, right, while he's sending police officers to the front line, healthcare workers, not equipped with masks and stuff to protect themselves. He likes to use these people and put them in harm's way, but he would rather hide in his home instead of just taking a test and getting it done, getting it over with. So, shame on this fucking idiot. But about the test kits, it's important that it's important to know that if you're trying to get a test now here in Canada, you will not get a test. Mostly, you will try to find a place where you can get a test, and unless you lie, they will refuse to give you a test. So as you can see, Canada is heading for a big catastrophe with this CCP coronavirus, and you need to hold the government accountable. Just as an example, if you are a concerned citizen, of course, if you have no symptoms, if you're not really, really sick, try to get a test today, and you will see that you will not be able to get one. And we know that the spreaders of the CCP coronavirus are the asymptomatic people, the people who don't have any symptoms, who are walking around in society, who are perfectly healthy. They are the ones spreading the disease right now. And the health authorities in Canada are refusing to test people who don't have any symptoms. So as you can see, they are doing something very completely stupid, and they are responsible for the spreading of this disease by not testing people who don't have any symptoms. So I just want to tell you that. So unless everybody wears a mask, unless the government starts testing everybody, no matter whether they have symptoms or not, we're not going to be ahead of this outbreak. And the numbers are just going to go up and up and up. And I will give you my prediction for Canada. We are most likely going to have 15 million people infected in Canada. And we're probably going to have something like 2 or 3 million people dead. So, take it for what it is. That's my prediction. You might not agree with me. That's fine. Maybe you'd rather believe in fairy tales like Justin Trudeau does. Well, go for it. But my prediction is 15 million infected people, and maybe between 2 and 4 million people dead. So that's my prediction. Also, I'd like to tell you not to believe the government's lies. Now they want to, because they don't want to tell you the truth. And the truth is that they're not in control of anything right now. They're not in control of this. They don't even know what they're doing. But they always tell you that it's going to last for a month. It's going to last for 2 months. They're hiring doctors to come on TV telling you it's going to end in May or it's going to end in April. And of course, it's not based on any scientific fact. It's just wishful thinking. There is no evidence whatsoever that this is going to end in 1 month or 2 months. This could last for 6 months. This could last for years. This could last for 2 years, for 10 years. We have no idea. And there's no guarantee that there will be a vaccine for this. And just to prove it to you, think about the AIDS virus, the AIDS epidemic. It started in the early 80s in San Francisco. Of course, it started somewhere else, but as far as us in North America, it started in maybe 1980 in San Francisco. So the AIDS virus has been around for 40 years, and there's still no vaccine. So there is no guarantee that there will be a vaccine for the CCP coronavirus. All right, there might be one, but there's no guarantee that there will be one. So don't believe in all of these assholes coming on TV telling you that it's gonna end in 2 months, or they say it's gonna peak. It's gonna peak. Well, it's not based on any scientific evidence. It's not based on anything. It could last for years. is just wishful thinking. It's just a shot in the dark. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not being paid to do this. These fucking assholes of doctors, they're being paid thousands of dollars an hour to go on TV and say all these stupid things. I'm not being paid anything. I'm not even monetized. I'm actually being censored by YouTube because I've been telling the truth from the very beginning of this epidemic. Just look at my videos. I was making videos in early January telling people to be aware of that thing that was that was that was going to come out of China. Of course, nobody was listening to me. But I've never made any money doing that. I've just been doing it because I feel like I need to tell the truth to people. Um, but you've got these stupid assholes, doctors, these know-it-alls who don't know anything, telling you all kinds of lies on TV. So don't believe the lies of the government. Don't believe the lies of these doctors. And actually, you'd be better served listening to some people here on YouTube. I have a list of channels in the description, right down there. So I would tell you, look at these channels. I mean, there's so many great information there, and it's you'll be well served, better served by listening to YouTubers and not listening to these stupid government officials, these stupid doctors, which have been giving you false information from the beginning of this outbreak. If you remember Trudeau's federal health minister, this ugly old blonde, I don't remember what her name is, but she was saying in January that there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission of the CCP coronavirus. I mean, can you believe that? She was claiming that in January, this stupid, foolish woman, and she's still in charge of health in Canada. So how can not things go wrong with a stupid pea-brained person like this one, So, something else I'd like to tell you is that you should keep some hand sanitizer, and you should sanitize your hands as often as possible. Yes, of course, you should wash your hands, but it's much easier to sanitize them once in a while. So you should sanitize your hands, and you should get used to scratching your face with a spoon or with something else because I know that we all scratch our face several times a day, and it's a normal thing that we do. But instead of scratching your face with your fingers, you should actually use a spoon to scratch your face, and you can keep that spoon on your desk, and you can sanitize that spoon once in a while with alcoholic gel, and that's gonna help you keep your fingers away from your mouth and nose, because if you touch a surface outside which has the CCP coronavirus on it, and you touch your mouth or your nose, then you're gonna spread. That's how people spread the disease sometimes. So, but if you use a spoon to scratch your face whenever you need to, then you're not gonna make that transition between your fingers and your mouth or your nose. So, and one other thing I gotta tell you is to beware of other people. Be suspicious of other people. Be suspicious of your neighbors. Now I know that in my town, since I came back from the Philippines, I have seen the newspapers, and there's now the neighbors are snitching other people to the police. They're calling the police on their neighbors. The police has actually set up snitching hotlines to snitch neighbors. Maybe you see a neighbor making a little party in their apartment, and they're calling the police, and so on. So you need to be suspicious of everybody else, not just because of the CCP coronavirus, but because there's a witch hunt. There is a witch hunt going on, and you have no idea how people are going to react. We know that this is probably going to cause a lot of violence in communities, but I think that's what the government is actually encouraging with these snitching hotlines. So beware of everybody else. And yes, it might be a good idea to stay in your home, not because of the CCP coronavirus, but because of all of these witch hunters outside who are looking for prey. Of course, I've come back from the Philippines and I need to stay home for the next 14 days, and I'm okay with that because I have a rather large home and I have everything I need, and I'm okay with that. So at least I won't have to deal with all of these snitches out there. But if you are one of those person that is going outside, beware of everybody else, and don't talk too much. Don't give too much information about yourself, about what you have inside your home and stuff like this, because things are gonna get bad. I know that the police right now, we don't see too many police cars, but it's coming. The oppression by police, the oppression by the military. Trudeau is talking about the military. Military is there to help people. Well, the military are never there to help you. They are there to oppress you. So when you see them coming, be very suspicious of what's going on. Be suspicious. You're on your own right now, and the government is not there to help you. The government certainly is not your friend, and they're actually responsible for spreading this disease. One thing also that you should be suspicious of and you should be aware of is the economic challenges that are going to be there in the coming weeks, the coming months. And we have seen the collapse of the stock market. You're going to see the collapse of the economy. We are likely going to be into a depression for a long time, because of the lockdowns, because of the so many people lost their jobs, because of the supply chains that are being broken. It might become very difficult to get food or basic necessities in the coming weeks, the coming months. It's already difficult. If you've tried to go into a grocery store lately, it's becoming increasingly difficult to buy basic necessities, and of course, people with no jobs, with no revenue stream, people are gonna have less and less money to buy stuff. Uh, so you should make economic decisions within a context of an emergency context and a war context right now. And maybe you shouldn't pay the bills that are not due right now, because we don't know what the future holds. Don't pay for things in advance right now, because a lot of companies are going to go bankrupt, and they're gonna run away with your money if you have paid them in advance for something. Even the banks, I do not trust all the banks to remain solvent. So you might make a plan if you have money in the bank about what you're gonna do with that money, because we never know when some bank is gonna go bankrupt, is gonna close, and run away with the money of the clients. So beware of where your money is. Make a plan if things if it looks like shit is gonna hit the fan for your bank. Make a plan to empty your bank accounts and hide your money somewhere else. You might want to buy gold if you can. You might want to buy gold bars and hide them somewhere. I don't know, but there is going to be a lot of problems economically. And I would advise you actually to stockpile food, other necessities. If you're living in the States and you have weapons like firearms, you might want to hide them. You might want to stock up on ammo as much as you can, because I don't know how safe our neighborhoods are going to be in a month. The police might start oppressing us. The army might start oppressing us. And now I have heard that they are releasing dangerous criminals from prisons and putting them back into the community because of the coronavirus, CCP coronavirus outbreaks inside the prisons. So you will need weapons to protect you from these bad individuals, these criminals. And you might need your weapons to protect you from the police and the army. So I would greatly encourage you, if you can, to stock up on weapons, stock up on ammo. This might become very useful to protect your life in the coming weeks, the coming months. Stock up on food, whatever you can get. You should actually have a pantry. You should have enough food to survive. If shit really is the fan and you can't get food, water anymore, at least you'll have things to survive on for a while. So that's about it for now. I will keep you informed. I just want to show you this. This is basically my calculation that I did for the CCP coronavirus, the case mortality rate. And if you calculate all the numbers from outside China, because we know that the numbers from China are total bullshit, but I've calculated all the other countries except China. And I came up with that case mortality rate of 28.65%. So take it for what it is, but that's my calculation. You can do it yourself if you want. It's much higher than the 2%, the 3% that some clueless doctors are telling people on TV, on their YouTube channel, on national news. I've said it's at least 10% like the SARS from 2003, but it looks like it could be higher. It could be like 15%, maybe 20% if you don't get healthcare. But my calculations from the numbers that we have right now, it's 28.65%. So that's much higher than what's being told to you, the lies that are being told to you. So, you don't have to believe me, but at least do the calculation yourself before you decide on a number, because you are being lied to. So that's about it for today. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Put a like on the video if you like it. If you don't like it, you're free to put a dislike. Everybody is free here. This is not China. You're not gonna get killed because you're expressing your opinion like they do kill people in China. And of course, always remember the cover-up by China, which is responsible for this crisis, and all those people that have died, they have died because of this motherfucker Xi Jinping and his Communist Party in China. So remember that. So I will see you soon with a new video.